It's Wednesday. So you know what that means. Yeah, Wine Wednesday. Join your host, James McGee, for a glass of wine and discussion about current events. No matter what's going on in the world, it's easier to swallow mixed with some wine.
Welcome back to the James McGee Show, Wine Wednesday. I am your host. I am James McGee. So we have Tom Wells and Joe Collins, and I'm gonna let Joe introduce his special guest tonight and who she is, and a little bit about her.
Absolutely. I decided that I was going to bring in like one of the best investigators in Wisconsin, who also happens to be my daughter, Paige Collins.
Coincidence.
Well,
Just
Paige
coincidence.
Kalowski, and her husband is also on the job, and he's working right now tonight. So he works for Brown County Sheriff's Department, and Paige is with the Neenah Police Department. And what's
Okay.
kind of neat about that is that I was able to pin her in 25 years a month to the day that I started at the Neenah Police Department.
Wow.
And the reason that it was 25 years and a month was because I was visiting Donnie in Montenegro when she got hired, and they held the pinning ceremony until we got back.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about what we're drinking, and I think y'all on the road, so you can talk about Joe what y'all had to drink at dinner. It's also Joe's birthday. Had a birthday celebration tonight. Y'all can talk about what y'all had to drink at dinner. I'll go first. I am drinking. It's Wine Wednesday, but Tom Wells doesn't drink wine. He
No,
drinks
sir.
whiskey. So I'll decide. I did. So brandy is actually technically wine.
It
So
is.
I am drinking Tuaca Italian brandy, and I really like it. It's a little bit later than we usually record. So a good after dinner drink was on the menu tonight, and that's a good glass of brandy. So that's what I'm drinking. Tom, what are you drinking?
Well, tonight I am enjoying a nice, beautiful, aromatic glass of Blanton's from the Buffalo Trace line.
Always trying to outdo us. Tom Wells is always going to try to outdo us.
Man.
I break out the good stuff because of the company that I'm in here.
Well, and you bought like a case of that, didn't you?
Well, I don't have a case of Blanton's. I have a few bottles.
All right. All right.
Although I tell you what I do have a case of, Joe, I have a case of Spotted Cow.
Hey, that's where it's at.
Nice.
Only available in Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like the Coors of the old day, man.
Mhm.
Just don't be caught with too much of that in your trunk of the Firebird, man, the TA, man.
There you go.
So
Happy birthday, Joe.
So
Thank
Joe
you.
and Paige, what did y'all have to drink for your birthday dinner?
Well, I had a smoked old fashioned with Maker's Mark.
Mm.
Yeah, nothing
That's
like
good.
having a smoked old fashioned.
I'm not a big old fashioned person. My wife loves old fashions, and Maker's Mark is one of to her actually one of the best bourbons for an old
Very
fashioned.
smooth. Yep.
So what
Well, I'm
about what
boring.
about you, Paige?
I just had water.
You just had water? Oh, okay. Well, it's your dad's birthday, so he got to
Right.
he got to be the drinker.
Yep.
Yep.
I paid. He drank. We're it's all
Oh
good.
yeah. Oh yeah. I had we had some steak. It was
Yep.
amazing. So when you guys get up to Wisconsin in this area, we're going to Blue. BLUE.
No, EU.
EU,
Yep.
and it was amazing. So amazing place.
All right.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
We appreciate y'all coming on for a few minutes. I know y'all are spending some time together, so we won't keep y'all, but we really wanted you to come on tonight, Paige. We'd love to have you back and talk a little bit more about your 11-year career. But it's Police Week, Wine Wednesday. We decided we were going to highlight women in law enforcement, and we definitely wanted to personally, both of us, Tom and I, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. Happy to serve.
Well, we'd love to have you back and talk a little bit more about your career. But y'all go spend some father daughter time and have a really good night. And again, Joe, happy birthday to you.
Thank you much, guys.
All right, we'll
Have
see
a
you
great
later.
night. We'll talk to you later, guys.
Take care. Good to
Bye
see
now.
you, Paige.
Nice to meet you.
Take care, Paige.
See you guys.
Happy birthday, Joe. Take care.
Thank you.
So, Tommy, where you want to start? I tell you what, I'm gonna start a little bit on this. You and I, around the same age, we started our careers around the same time. I think we can both agree that the progression of women in law enforcement, we've seen it. It happened during our tenure, and from where we started in the early '90s to where it is today. man, I just think it's great. And I've served with some great female cops, and I know you have too.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting. When I started at Springdale in 1990, our department had 23 officers, all male, all white. And we have grown to a diverse department with many different cultural backgrounds. And I'm happy to say that we actually had the largest percentage of female officers, sworn officers, on a department in our county, with the exception of the city of Cincinnati and the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, which of course are very big departments. Our department had an average of 35 officers, and in the last, say, 10 years of my employment, we average 7 to 8 female sworn officers on the department at a time, which I think is tremendous. It's basically 25%.
So I'll put you on the spot a little bit because I don't know it, but do you know what the national average of women in law enforcement is?
Actually, I should have looked that up. I don't. I feel like it might be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 10 to 15%.
And y'all being at 25, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. We were very proud of that, that we had so many different, so many females there. They served at all levels of the department. We have patrol officers, investigators, supervisors, and they certainly bring a dynamic that is important to our profession, and they serve with distinction.
Very much do. And I don't talk about and I'm gonna have her on. She's promised me she's gonna come on one day, but I don't talk much about my wife's career. But she is a 27-year veteran. She is a captain with our department. She is the warden of the women's prison currently. She was a detective for many, many years, as captain in detectives, worked some major homicides, one of the absolute best. And I'll tell you, I'm glad that it was our generation, Tom, that I think our generation could take the credit for recognizing what women bring to this profession. And men and women are not equal. And I don't think there's any woman that's going to tell you, hey, I'm equal. You're different, but you equally bring something to this profession. Women, Joe's daughter was just on, and she's a detective. I can tell you right now, I don't mean to hurt any men's feelings who are detectives. The best detectives I've ever known are women.
Yep. Well, I think women, first of all, they are more organized. They are more methodical about things. And I just personally feel like they have a better mind for that kind of work.
Yep.
Again, not to take anything away from the males that are in the law enforcement profession by any stretch, but the experience that I've seen as far as people that I've worked with, I've seen some really excellent work from the both in terms of supervision as well as investigations by female officers.
And I'll tell you this. I've also seen some some women that get on the street and get down with you too.
That's right.
They'll throw some hands with you. And a funny story I'll tell is probably 4 or 5 years ago, a bit before I retired, I don't think it was our major hurricane in 2020, but we had a storm coming. We have a lot of storms, and we try to get in front of things and make sure that we put some chainsaw crews out to make sure if we have some fallen trees that our officers, to clear paths for them. So I had a lieutenant put a crew together. I gave him 5 people and said, "Hey, here, put a chainsaw crew together." And he come back to me and he said, "Hey, boss, we got a problem." I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "You gave me 4 men and a woman on the chainsaw crew. The only person that has ever run a fucking chainsaw in their life was the girl." Well, her dad had owned a sawmill, and she grew up running chainsaws.
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, I'll tell you what you do. Take them 4 dummies out there and get the girl to teach them how to run a fucking chainsaw. Let's get to work."
Exactly.
And that's what they did.
Yep.
And so, I'm proud of where we have come as a profession of recognizing, and like I said, our generation of leadership deserves the credit on that.
Yep.
And I think it's amazing. So, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our department. It's unique in Louisiana. dispatchers, we have a state supplemental pay. I think it's up to $750 a month that if you're post certified, the state gives you supplemental pay. Well, our dispatchers are eligible, so they go to the academy. Well, what we realized was dispatchers, man, and our department's call volume is something else. And if you can be a good dispatcher, we recognize that there's not many jobs in that department you can't do. Then we developed a really big school resource program. And a lot of them would go from dispatch to school resource, and then some would go to patrol. Then a lot of them would go to detectives from there. And I'm telling you, it was an eye opener of what these ladies were able to do.
Yep. Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you were talking about being scrappy. One of the officers on the department that I retired from, Springdale, she's 4'11". She's one of the scrappiest people I've ever known. I would go into a bar fight with her any day, and she's one of the best detectives I've ever known. She is very sharp, has no compunction about saying what needs to be said and doing what needs to be done. She's one of the leaders in for the officers union. And again, it just goes to show size has nothing to do with capability. Anybody that knows her knows that she can hold her own. And and so yeah.
Well, something that comes to mind. This was probably not long before I left, maybe a year before I retired. We had an officer involved shooting, bad deal. It was a good shooting, but it was the bad deal. It ended up shooting him in front of his kids. Now I don't think they were close enough. I mean, it was a guy came out with a machete, charged officers. It was a really bad deal.
Yep.
Well, we had one of our she's a sergeant. I don't think she was a sergeant then. Had one of our female patrolmen, top notch. She went from, and people don't realize, and I'm going to talk tomorrow when I do a full podcast, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and tell the full story of what I've told before about what I kind of touched on with one of the officers that I lost. I'm going to tell that full story tomorrow.
Wow.
So she went from, what I would say was people don't realize all in a matter of a minute, going from a tactical position to another officer shooting this kid's dad and her having to take care of him. So she was transitioning to, from tactical to caregiver of a child. Man, that's not easy to do. And it takes a special fucking person to do that.
Right.
And we've got to recognize what these men and these women are able to do. And it's amazing.
It is. Yeah. That's the thing that always strikes me as it's so incredible about the people that choose this profession is how they can be exposed to the amount of trauma and critical incidents that they deal with, and that they still have the resilience of coming back and whether it's in the middle of that situation like you just talked about, or whether it's coming back to work that next week, that next day, that next month, they're still back because of the dedication and the heart that they have for other people. I mean, it is a special breed. I know it's, you and I are both pro cop guys, and it's very easy to brag on police officers, but it takes a very special breed of person to be able to withstand all that and come back time in and time again to help people out. So, yeah.
Well, there's no way we're going to talk during police week and talk about women in law enforcement and not talk about the one that is special to you, that you have her shirt on tonight. So let's talk about Kai Grant. Let's talk about her tonight.
Yeah, that's, I truly wish I was up in DC. This is actually the first time in many years that I've missed the police week up in DC now that I have this new career,
Yeah.
Things change, but that doesn't mean my heart's not there with her and with the other people that are up there representing her. But when I think about her, I think about that night, and I'll just real briefly recap. She was up there. There was a wanted violent felon that was involved in a pursuit, and she, along with other officers from our department, were up there trying to interdict that pursuit. And even though she had not been in a position to place her stop sticks out, she was holding them at the time. This individual purposely turned and sped right into her, striking her at 70 miles an hour. And, she was up there doing the job. She was out there protecting the public. It absolutely just breaks my heart, the loss for her family and for our department that happened there. But I'm so proud of her for doing her job. What we believe, we don't know this because obviously we not able to ask her, but what we believe was that she was was going to use her sticks as a backup to the other officer that had his sticks out because it was an interstate, and that she was going to use them in the event that the driver tried to evade the other officer's sticks. You talk about courage. You talk about putting yourself out there. And I think, I thought about this right after it happened in that week of trying to process this whole thing. She gave her life so that somebody else down the road, maybe some innocent family, maybe 2 or 3 other police officers that could have gotten in a shootout with this guy, she saved them because she put herself out there. Now, there is no greater love than that.
No, and she we're going to talk more about her when I know we're going to have her dad on soon. We're going to talk more about her and who she was as a human being. She was a smart person.
Yes.
Extremely smart. And I'm going to save all that of where she was, the things that she did prior to being a police officer. She didn't have to be a police officer. She
No,
chose to be a police officer.
right.
She had many opportunities. Like I said, we're going to save that for when Kevin comes on. So many opportunities. That's when you can be anything. This young lady could have been anything she wanted. She chose to be a cop,
Right.
and she gave her life as a cop. There is no greater person than that on this
No,
earth.
no, there isn't. I respect her tremendously, and again, like I said, I'm so proud of her. I would do anything. I would trade anything to have her back. But I'm so proud of her for holding the line and doing what had to be done, even if that meant, giving up her life.
Well, good point that you made about how other officers live, and so much is learned when officers die. And look, that couldn't have been prevented. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't make any bad decisions. But I had to give a speech. We had a deputy that made it his mission to go back as long as our department had been in service in the 1800s and make sure that every deputy that had died of the line of duty had been properly honored. Well, he found
That's
a couple of them that wasn't.
yeah, that's
And
amazing. That's great.
oh, it was great. This guy, he was relentless. So I went to the memorial, our state memorial, and gave a speech on a deputy that died in 1905
Wow.
and had to talk about him. I'm like, what would the hell am I going to say? He has no living relatives. I don't know anything about him. So the route I went was our deputies, you and I survived because of people like that died.
Yep.
The bulletproof vest was invented because somebody got shot and died.
Right.
It could have been this guy I talked about. So
That's
that's
absolutely
what
correct.
we have to look at. Every time somebody gives their life, somebody else is able to live because of it.
That's right.
So every
It's
every change in tactics, every change in gear comes at the expense of somebody else's. And that's what we should be honoring this week.
Yep. I, I have a pronouncement I want to make about officers of this day and age. A lot of people say the cops today, they this, and the cops today, that. Let me tell you something. We talk about the greatest generation, the World War II veterans. I believe that history is going to show that the greatest generation of police officers are the people that are stepping up right now to do the job, because there's never been a more challenging time to be a police officer, a less rewarding time to be a police officer, and yet people are still coming out here to do it. So
Amen.
I'm gonna raise
Amen,
a
Tom.
glass to the new greatest generation of police officers.
Hell fucking yes. And I said this Monday night, and I said this when we were talking about men Monday night. I'm going to say this again when we're talking about women here on Wednesday night. This is the best generation. And any of you that are listening, two old has-beens like us, we love you. We're proud of it. Here's to you.
Here's to you.
All right. So, Tom, what you got going on the rest of the week?
Well, let's see. Tomorrow I'm working at the railroad again, bringing my train across the system so I can get that thing put to bed so that Friday I can attend our local Greater Cincinnati Police Memorial to honor Officer Tim Unwin, who was killed in the line of duty last year at the Springfield Township Police Department. Of course, our very own Kaya Grant and the many officers of Hamilton County and the city of Cincinnati who have given their lives. I plan to attend that event as I have every year since 2002 was the first year that I can recall when I joined the County Honor Guard. I know I've been there prior to that, but I know I've been there every year since.
Well, I'm gonna come on. That's awesome, Tom. I'm so glad that you're staying involved like that. I'm going to come on to tomorrow and tell my story that I promised that I would tell. And then Friday, I'm headed to Baton Rouge, which is about 2 hours from me, LSU. My baby girl, my youngest daughter, my only daughter, but my youngest child is graduating from LSU.
That's so awesome.
It is awesome. I'm so proud of her. She is right now in Cabo, Mexico on her graduation trip.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the fuck they went the week before graduation? I have no idea, but she comes in tomorrow night. So my wife and I are going there tomorrow night so we can make sure that she's back. She's recovered enough to where she could walk on that stage, and very proud of her. She'll
Yep.
never come on the show, so I'm gonna have to plug her without her here. So I'm proud of you,
Oh
Macy.
boy, that was a lovely picture I saw of the two of them the other day.
Let's give a toast to her, Tom, and a toast to her getting off of my payroll.
There you go.
If that ever happens.
Bravo and congratulations. And FYI, she'll never be off the payroll.
That's what she says. For sure. All right, Tom, we'll see you soon. And again, to every one of you, especially you ladies tonight, we honor you. Thank you for serving. Tom and I are proud of you and we love you. McGee and Wells are out.
Be safe.